sensational hosts, Drusilla and Gilsey.
Hi!
Welcome to Moon Moment, the podcast where we discuss the Sailor Moon canon for what we affectionately call, you guessed it, Moon Moments.
Moments that we feel exemplify what Sailor Moon stands for and represents. Now, without further ado, let's jump in. Today we are discussing episodes 72 through 75, and the girls are finally able to hang out with the newly reformed Berthier and Koan, but their potato party is disrupted by Pets and Calaveras. And amidst the swift transformations, Chibiusa makes an important discovery. Could it be that these girls are the legendary Sailor Guardians? Well, they are. And unfortunately, even being a Sailor Guardian doesn't mean you're worthy of the powerful silver crystal, at least according to Chibiusa. But the Guardians are powerful, and are able to combine with their new powers, so much so that even their enemies are taking notice with a change in power. Goodbye, Rubius, you may have been the resident Dark Moon bad boy, but there's a new baddie in town. Or should I say, new baddies. But the Sailor Guardians aren't without allies, and with a new Sailor Scout appearing in the midst. Talk about playing mind games. But if you're the guardian of space and time, I guess there's no need to be as explanatory. So, I had a moon moment, and then a mini moon moment. But, did you have anything, Drusilla, for the next episode? Yes.
Nothing in this episode. I had a couple moon moments, but not for this episode. This episode, it's so nice to see Koan and Berthier just hanging out.
I know, they were so cute together. I love their civilian forms, and I love how Berthier was in the back with Ami, and this is what it's like. Is this what human life is like? And it was just so cute. Their vibe was adorable.
And I don't remember if I brought this up in a previous podcast, but I'm so curious as to how they land on their feet in this world, so to speak. How do they have a job? Like, how do they have identification papers? How did they get an apartment? Did the girls help them? I'm just so curious as to how this works, because I can gleefully imagine Berthier's been transformed back, and Koan is so excited to show her sister her super tiny apartment with maybe cinder blocks as shelves. It is very, very minimalist, and she shows her a cabinet full of here curry that Ray recommended. Like, these are great, Ray-chan recommended them, and just being so excited, and also Berthier just being so excited for everything. I really want a spin-off with them. We can watch them go through their lives.
I would love that. I would watch that. I would read the manga for that too. Maybe Mamoru helps them. Maybe he's not as bad of a person as we think he is. Maybe he's actually helping them behind the scenes and being like, okay, I'm rich, so I guess I can help you out and buy you a place, or maybe pay rent for them until they at least have a living situation. Or maybe he knows people, so that's how they're able to land these jobs, and these pretty nice jobs, since one of them, was it Koan, that works in a beauty place? So maybe it's connections too?
Yeah, I want to give Mamoru that. Obviously we don't see anything like that in the text, but yeah, I'd like to think he maybe finds them a place, or, like you said, pays their rent until they're able to do so. And yeah, that seems like a very nice. It also almost seems like something he would do, but it would be like, it's not something that the scouts maybe necessarily would think of. Probably Ami would give a list of, these are really good neighborhoods, and this has something in your price range, and I've looked up job listings, and I've also done some paperwork so that you have IDs. Like, I could see Ami doing that. And then Ami and Mamoru in the background, whether the Spectre sisters know it or not, like him sort of subsidizing their apartment while they get on their feet.
I feel like anything with Ami involved is just going to be a powerhouse. It's almost surely going to succeed. Because I don't imagine Ami really failing at what she does, because she's just so thorough, and she's just good at what she does. And especially, I just really like her gadgets as a Sailor Scout. Like, I think in this episode, she finally pulled out those goggle lenses things. And earlier when I was watching it, I was like, why isn't she pulling that out, like, sooner? But then she did, as I thought it. Like, that's my girl. Go Ami.
I wish we saw those more often.
Because I think, is she the only Sailor Scout that has those kinds of little gadgets? Because I don't remember, like, Ray or... Is she?
Jupiter has the little lightning rod that appears to help her channel her power. And there's the transformation pin, which is given to Usagi, and it's pink, but it has a red gem on it. So could it be a Mars-related item? Because in the manga, Venus has a sword. So all the girls have sort of something. I mean, it's not consistent, because Jupiter has a lightning rod and Venus has a sword. But yeah, no one else has a little gadget like this. And I think it's great because Ami is the smart one and is good with strategy. And so it makes sense to give her that. I just wish we saw her use it more often.
Yeah. I like that she's able to pull it out, like, on whim, too. And she was able to see how powerful what was the name? Was it just a powerful wand? Because they called it, what did they call it? A stick? Did they call it a power stick? Something like that? With, like, all the... Yeah. I couldn't remember, but with all the power that was radiating from it, especially when the black hole appeared, too, as well. And the fact that they jumped right into, I was like...
Yeah.
Y'all...
No hesitation whatsoever.
Not even that. No, don't do it. I was expecting Usagi to be like, guys, let's not do it. Why? But then she was just like, okay, yeah, let's jump right in.
Mm-hmm. Something I really liked about, because we talked about the Spectre sisters and their defections and how awesome they are. I love that all of them have a different reason for wanting to be redeemed. Everyone has a different reason to get them to that point. Because Cohen loved Rubius, found out that he did not feel the same way, and instead he actually thought that she was useless. And Bertier felt betrayed by her sisters. I think Cohen partially, but also Calaveras and Pets, when they just leave her like, sorry, you messed up, we're not helping you. I think like she felt betrayed by them. And then with Pets and Calaveras, for Calaveras, it's a very specific betrayal. It's Pets, because we always typically see them together. I can't remember if they're the two oldest sisters, because I think it's different in the manga and in the anime, and I'm getting it confused, as always. But because these two sisters have always been together, for Calaveras, Pets betraying her is a much deeper cut than the other sisters leaving, and so that's what triggers her to want to change. And for Pets, the idea of failing and not succeeding, not bringing glory to the family, that's sort of what is triggering for her. But also, she's being corrupted by this staff. So there's that extra bit in there, which is why it's a little bit, I think, her journey to being redeemed is a little bit wonky because she's getting poisoned by this thing. But then she's like, I'm going to throw myself in there. Maybe that will stop it. And her sisters are the ones that save her. So I really like that they all have different reasons. It's not just Sailor Moon saying, the sight of light and love is really good. You should come over. And they're like, okay. And the scouts have nothing to do with really any of this. Mars manages to talk Cohen down, but with the other ones, Cohen is the one that talks to Bertier, and the other two sisters, they're able to... Cohen and Bertier also talk Pets and Calaveras down. So I really love that the scouts really don't have anything to do with this.
Yeah, exactly.
Sailor Moon's just there to cleanse them.
Yeah.
To refresh them.
No, yeah, I really like their bond, too. I like how this is how it's always been. This is how humans live. You're being brainwashed. You're being betrayed. Please, this is a better life for you, and you should join us because we want the best for you. So I just really like their bond. I wish there was more of it. And also, I love that Cohen and Bertier didn't betray the Sailor Scouts' identities, especially since we saw that they definitely know who their civilian forms are. And I just really liked that even though that they were trapped in a bubble, probably going to die at the hands of their own two older sisters, they still felt loyal enough and, oh, these are our friends, we want to protect them. So I love that they didn't say the Sailor Scouts' identities. But also, because of these identities things, when Chibiusa finally sees with her own two eyeballs that the Sailor Scouts are her friends that she hangs out with, and sees that Usagi is Sailor Moon, finally, you can see how much she's protected you and sacrificed for you. Maybe you'll stop being an annoying little brat. But no, she doesn't. She steals the silver crystal from Usagi because she doesn't feel like she's worthy of it. I was so mad at her at that point.
The next episode is really tough, and that's a great segue. But before we move on, I have one last thing about this episode. How do you think they're going to explain that bridge? Do you think an earthquake?
I have no idea.
It's such a specific point of destruction. How do you think... I remember, while watching the episode, I recalled our conversation about just how Tokyo explains all of this stuff away. The bridge was under construction anyway, but now it's... The workers are going to get there in the morning, and they're going to think someone set up a bomb.
In my mind, I keep thinking of how in Miraculous Ladybug, she's able to magically fix...
You heard it, listeners. I didn't bring it up. Gilsey did. Gilsey's the one that brought up Miraculous Ladybug today. Not
For
me.
once. Maybe you're influencing me, Drusilla. But yeah, in my mind, I keep thinking of how Marinette is able to just magically fix things after a fight, and for some reason, I think Sailor Moon has the same magical ability where she's able to just moon healing and all of the destruction is okay, but that's probably not how it is, because if that was really how it is, then in that one episode where Shingo and his dad are in that virtual video game, why are they still hurt, so it makes sense that it's not a thing that happens in the Sailor Moon universe, but in my mind, the Sailor Moon universe and Miraculous Ladybug are kind of conjoined.
Yeah, they're going to have a Japan special at some point to join the Shanghai and New York specials, and if they don't have some reference to Sailor Moon in that Japan special, I'm gonna lose my mind. Yeah.
You need both.
But yeah, and in the New York episode, Kat has cataclysmed the AI, and what got me about that scene is when her mom, I can't remember what her name is, but the Superwoman,
right.
She busts through at least one building to get there, and I'm like, you don't have magic ladybugs, so you just destroyed this building. Like, poor people in that building, are they okay? That is what we should be worried about. But then ladybugs are able to fix everything.
Oh my
right.
gosh. What also, another thing that got me annoyed with this episode was when Tuxedo Mask shows up and Usagi thanks him. Why are you thanking Tuxedo Mask? He didn't do anything.
No, so he did do something. He showed up and told them that they needed to combine their powers in order to break the staff. So she's thanking him for him telling them how to fix it. My issue is, how does he know? How does he know that them combining their powers will break the staff? How does he know that they won't be trapped in that dimension after they break the staff? Also, when they come out of it, he's not there anymore. So he wasn't even going to stick around to make sure that they all got out okay. What happened if they were stuck in there forever? Or maybe just Usagi was stuck in there. Or, maybe it was Usagi and Minako and Ami got stuck, but Rei and Makoto got out. He just left. What if they still needed help? I mean, I know he's useless, but oh my gosh. Can you imagine if they all jumped in there, destroyed the staff, but then they're now stuck in this dimension? He's already gone. The cats are stuck in there too. The only one that saw what happened is Chibiusa, who doesn't know that Mamoru is Tuxedo Common. I could imagine her maybe going to Mamoru because she doesn't know who else to go to, and is just crying and saying, I followed the scouts and I saw this happen on the bridge and they never came out of the hole. And that's when he realizes, oops, I made a boo-boo. And now they have to figure out how to get there. But how are they going to figure out how to deal with that? Because he doesn't have any special powers. Anyway, that really, it was so frustrating of like, how does he know this information when the cats don't know this information? I mean, the cats don't know anything. And then he just leaves. Doesn't even make sure. Like, I guess you could argue that he's so confident in their abilities, he knows they'll get the job done, so he doesn't have to stick around. But still.
Anyway, next episode?
Next episode.
But yeah, I was just really mad that Chibiusa just stole Usagi's brooch just because Usagi was like, oh, I don't want any hot cakes and I'm full from Mako's cookies. That was such a small thing, too. I get that she had a bonding moment with Usagi's mom, which that I kind of had a little shout out to Usagi's mom for always thinking of her children and being, oh, I think I want to make extra for Shingo and Usagi because I feel like they would really like it. But it's also, Chibiusa, you've literally seen how Usagi has been protecting you since now you know she's Sailor Moon. How dare you decide on whether or not she is worthy of this? You would not be alive if Usagi hadn't protected you for so long.
I think that's a great way to describe it. Like, who are you to say whether Usagi is worthy of this or not? You have not been here since the beginning. You haven't seen her fight on her own before any of the scouts showed up, but you haven't seen her continue to fight as they fell and not only take out Prince Endymion, but also take out Beryl too, dying while doing it. And then choosing to become Sailor Moon again in order to fight the bad guys that you brought from the future. So I think that's a very great way to describe that. Yeah, and I do like the way, because it just feels so Usagi for her to, I'm late, they're gonna get mad at me, so I'm just gonna hurry up and change, and then for her to just leave the silver crystal in her room. I didn't feel like it was a plot convenience, because it seemed like something Usagi would do. And I wonder if maybe Chibiusa's decision just comes down to a kid's immaturity and making decisions based on the heat of the moment I'm not sure if what I'm trying to say is coming across, listeners, but kids are more concerned with what is happening now. I want something to eat now. I don't care that it will spoil my dinner later. Like, that's not a consideration. Like, I want something sweet to eat now. Versus her thinking about, Sailor Moon has protected me this entire time. All the scouts have protected me. Usagi is Sailor Moon. Ergo, she should keep the crystal. I shouldn't interfere with this. And this is jumping ahead a little bit, but in the next episode, Mamoru says, if the key had worked like it should, you would be in the future with the silver crystal. And we wouldn't have it. Usagi would not be able to turn into Sailor Moon. She would not be able to protect anyone the way she's been protecting you. Yeah, these next 2 episodes they definitely fed into what we discussed in episode 17 of the podcast, I believe, where we were talking about why people dislike Chibiusa so much. It's because she's never called out on her BS. And I think these 2 episodes are a great example of her not being called out on it. I mean, Usagi is so mad at the end of this episode, she almost smacks her, and Mamoru stops her. And I appreciate that he doesn't stop her, and, like, he doesn't say Usagi in, like, a stern voice. He just sort of shakes his head in a way of, don't do this. Not because he's on Chibiusa's side, but just, you may regret doing this later. So don't let your anger overwhelm you in this moment.
Yeah.
And Chibiusa was going to take it because she knows when Usagi says this is all your fault, she knows that it's right. So
yeah, especially just, I mean, I keep going back to D Point and thinking how Usagi's been trying so hard not to lose her friends. And I'm sure at that moment her mind went back to that point as well. And so she was probably so distraught. She probably didn't really know what she was saying either. So I feel Mamoru holding her back kind of snapped her out of it a little bit, but she's probably, as we can see in the next episode, she's very, very distraught.
But other than that, I didn't have anything for this episode.
Yeah, I didn't have anything.
Like you said, sort of a frustrating episode, but it is interesting. It's an interesting dynamic with the scouts being captured and Usagi not being able to transform to help them. It's a very interesting episode, but not much to say beyond that.
Yeah. I did like when Mamoru pulled out his little tuxedo mask puppet. I'm wondering if there's a tuxedo mask and Sailor Moon merch and he just got it one day, or did he make it himself?
Remember, they're in the crane machines at the arcade. There are little dolls of I think I definitely remember seeing Sailor Moon, and I think I remember seeing Tuxedo Common. And that goes back to our discussion about who's merchandising the scouts. Who even knows that they really exist? I feel like if they have a show, a stunt show basically, at an amusement park, then they definitely have merch of them.
In my mind, he made the little tuxedo mask puppet himself and was like, it's my little version. It's a mini-me. This is what he does in his spare time when he is not avoiding Usagi or trying to go to one of his multiple undefined jobs.
Or school, I guess.
Yeah, or school, I forgot.
So, the next 2 episodes, I had moon moments in both of them. And as I told Gilsey before we started the podcast, they may be considered one moon moment because they're sort of the same thing. And they're both a person. And I gave Usagi a moon moment in both episodes. I made Usagi a moon moment for both. And I have complained a lot about Usagi throughout the course of this show, but I've also stated why I love her. But my love for Usagi during these 2 episodes specifically, it was like the strobing effect in these episodes. intense and incessant. And if you haven't seen these episodes and you're sensitive to strobing effect, to lighting effects, I'd be very careful when watching these episodes. I had to close my eyes on some parts, and I'm not sensitive to that stuff. It was just so much. It was rough. So I know you had a moon moment and a possible mini moment.
I said my mini moment with the mother.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. So, did 74 have your moon moment?
Yes.
Okay, so you go first.
I think we're on the same page with Usagi being your moon moment. It involves Usagi, but I think it could also be your moon moment as well. But it's that moment when she is sitting by herself and she's talking to herself. I know I should protect her, and I know I should be the one to be the adult in this relationship, but I don't want to protect her, and I don't want to be the better person in this. And she's just like, I'm so tired, and I'm sorry for all of this that's happening. That was just so human. And a few minutes later, she says, she goes outside. She's like, I can hear my old self.
That was my moon moment.
Yeah.
Not so much when she's inside, sitting on the couch and talking about all that stuff, but her being outside and saying, I can just imagine what my old self would have said in this situation. I'm too tired. I don't want to do it by myself. And it's so rare that for a show or a movie or a book or any form of entertainment, if you have a character that goes through character arc, you're going to see them change over the course of it. But it's so rare to have them actually acknowledge that change themselves.
Exactly. And I feel like it just made her so human and so relatable. Anyone in her situation would be very overwhelmed, would not want to do what she knows she has to do, and especially since she feels this betrayal from Chibiusa because her friends are gone, they're taken. And I mean, going back to D Point, she's already gone through so much trauma. It's a wonder that she's able to even make herself go out there and fight again, knowing that it might be her last fight because she's very much overpowered and outnumbered. So yes, that is my moon moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Usagi as the moon moment in this episode. And the fact that Usagi goes by herself, there is no, she also doesn't tell the cats. She just goes because she knows this is the only option, because I can't give them Chibiusa. We're gonna have to go and see what happens. And then Chibiusa comes along, and you want to be mad at her for that, because Usagi's trying to be an awesome, decision maker, warrior, whatever, and then you're coming in and you're messing it up again. But really, if Chibiusa hadn't been there, that whole fight with Rubius would have ended way differently.
True, yeah.
So,
I also just had to commend Usagi for thinking so quickly when Rubius was like, oh, you brought the rabbit to me. And she's like, oh, no, this is my cousin. Haha, you fell for it.
That joke is transferred to the Deke version. And so watching this episode, I was like, what is... I didn't think that was in the original. I thought it was just something made up for the Deke version because it sounds so out there. And so while watching this episode, I thought, I wonder what Usagi's going to be saying at that moment instead of the, oh, this is my cousin. Oh, no. She makes the same. But yeah, she does it so quickly. She thinks on her feet. And speaking of the Deke version, there's just a line where the cats are watching TV and the news anchor says, paraphrasing, he basically says, the government says not to worry about the UFO because it's disappeared. Because it raised back up into the clouds and you can't see it anymore, the government says don't worry about it. A very head in the sand approach. But I did want to bring up something because right now we're going through episode 17 will be posted soon, and going through episode 17, we talked about the girls trying to get Chibiusa to open up, and Tuxedo Common saying no, she doesn't want to talk, she doesn't have to. In the beginning of this episode, when Mamoru is talking to Chibiusa, he actually grabs her.
Yeah.
And says, you need to tell us. And I think it's interesting that it has gotten to that point. The girls are gone, and I'm sure in the depths of his mind, that was such a weird way. I'm sure in his mind he realizes that things, not only are they dire, because he doesn't want the scouts to die. Like, he's not a terrible person. I mean, maybe he is a terrible person, but he's not an evil person. But I think he also, in his mind, realizes that Usagi is going to have to place herself in incredibly great danger because she doesn't have her backup anymore. And he's not only probably a little angry at Chibiusa for putting everyone in this position, but also, it's do or die time, Chibiusa. We need to know what is going on. And she's not able to give a lot of information, which is understandable, because she's just a kid. And I imagine it's pretty traumatic for her to have this life that everything was fine and perfect and normal, and she never had a care in the world. And then all of a sudden, the place that she's called home since she was born is attacked and destroyed, and she lost her mom, she's lost her dad, she lost the scouts. But I think it's interesting to tie this episode back to that episode, the grocery store / Here Curry episode, because it reaches a point where Mamoru is like, okay, you need to tell us, no more keeping secrets. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was also finally we're trying to get some straight answers from Chibiusa, because I don't know, I feel like they should have done this earlier, or at least try to get Chibiusa to open up more. But what's the timeline of this? Do you have an idea? Has Chibiusa been with them for a month or 2 months? I can't.
There's no way.
Okay. If it's been a couple of months, I feel like they would have had enough time to get more solid answers from her. But if it's been, I don't know, 3 weeks, then it makes sense that they wouldn't have the time to pull some information out of her. I feel like
it's been long enough that, because I feel like there were a couple episodes until they mentioned Chibiusa going to school. I don't think she was going to school when she first showed up at the beginning of the season, but it was, oh, you're going to be here a long time, so we need to enroll you in school. But also, just the timing of everything is so weird, because they're in what I assume to be is their last year of junior high. Maybe I'm wrong, but what I thought was their last year of junior high, and it's only until the 5th season that they moved to high school. So, I mean, if they are in their last year of junior high, then 4 seasons worth of stuff happens in 1 year. So, but it's possible maybe they're in their 2nd year of junior high. So that's a little bit more wiggle room there. But it also, I mean, they're really young when, like, they're young in the manga and in the anime when all this stuff happens. But 14 years old, but I guess she could be 14 and be in her 2nd year of junior high, which makes the whole age gap thing a lot more but because it's not like you're about to date, it's not like you're dating a high school student or dating someone who's about to go into high school. She's still got a year before. Anyway, let's move on. Last episode, oh my god, let's not discuss the last episode. I still want to talk about, there are certain shots in Sailor Moon that just stick with me. Like, even before this rewatch, there were ones that I could just pick out in my mind. And a lot of them are ones that, when we started this, I thought, oh, those are total Moon moments. but that was before we really nailed down what a moon moment was. So, for example, in the past, Ami's symbol appearing when her head's being shoved into the computer, that's an image that stays with me. Mako lifting the Yoma above her head while her symbol appears stays with me. This episode has one that stays with me. Usagi standing up under the gravity beam, and you can see the way they've drawn her is like she's trying to, like, she's not standing up normally. Like, her legs are a little bit, her knees are a little bit pushed toward each other to give her more stability. This is an image that sticks in my mind. It will forever be in my mind. Usagi is so amazing in this episode and next episode. But she thinks on her feet. She doesn't let Rubius have a single second to think. Yes, she gets thrown around a little bit at the beginning, but she uses her scepter, and then the second she gets another opening, she uses it again, and so she's able to distract him while Chibiusa is pulling up the crystal, and it just, like, she's awesome. And I wouldn't say it hurt my heart a little bit, but the scene at the end where the scouts sort of come to and they realize what's going on, and Chibiusa runs over to them, and they're like, "Oh my god, Chibiusa, how did you get here?" And Usagi's just sort of, she's walking so slowly because she's injured and sort of limping, and she just says, "Guys, you're okay." And they're like, "Sailor Moon, you look like you got beat up." And they don't say that, but I'm sure they were thinking it. This is I didn't expect us to have this Usagi at the very beginning of the show, but this is the one that I was hoping we would see a little bit earlier this season. And I think these episodes are the turning point for, I don't think we see a really childish Usagi anymore after this. And
I like to think that Usagi's excessive video game playing kind of helps with her reflexes and knowing when there's an opening, because she just kept every opening that she had, she took. So to myself, she's had a lot of battle experience up until this point, but the way that she's able to finesse and know that there's an opening, there has to be something else going on. And I was like, oh my god, that's right, Usagi plays a lot of video games. Her reflexes are top notch, even though she's always super clumsy, but in a battle she is on it. So it's like, maybe her video game prowess has helped her.
That's always the dream. If you ever find yourself in isekai, and you're like, my insane knowledge of video games should help me out in this situation. That's always the dream. Or, oh, you're the last hope of humanity, and you have to fight all of these aliens. We have a incredible weapon. Here are the controls to use it, and it's a controller, like a PlayStation controller or an Xbox controller. I got this. That's the dream of all of us video game nerds.
Oh my god, yeah. So. My only power would be seducing them, because all I play are dating sim games. So we will see how good that would be if I were ever thrown into a video game fighting situation. It would just be me, hey, so are you free after this, or can I take you out, both physically and maybe on a date?
I mean, how many times did Lanny save us by doing just that?
This is true.
Listeners, Lanny was Gilsey's D&D character in our campaign.
Max Charisma.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Max Charisma Bard. So, yeah.
I have seduced many a few enemies into fighting for me instead of against me. So it could work. This is a possibility.
So last episode?
Yes, last episode. Speaking of people I would seduce, this new prince, hello, hi, I am available. I have a little thing for bad boys with silver lightish hair. And hello, Esmeralda, I am available. Your voice, you can sing me to sleep. And Saphir, I am also available. Hello. Anyway, yes, they're hot. I have a soft spot for villains.
I wish we knew more about the Black Moon clan, because I think, and again, I don't remember what is manga and what is anime, but I think there were some dissenters in Crystal Tokyo that were disrupting the peace, so they were exiled, and they found their way to I don't know, it was like a planet or something, or a moon, but they called it the Black Moon, and they found this black crystal on it. And I think that's around the time when wise men came to them.
Right.
But I don't know if, like, are these the same people that were exiled, or is these different generations? Because I think the anime insinuates that generations have passed since this exiling. And it's only now that maybe they found the black crystal and have wise men's help that they're able to invade Crystal Tokyo in the future in order to come back to Earth. But we don't really know much about them, and I guess they get their power from the black crystal, but it's just another one of those things where I'd like 2-volume spin-off manga or a side story just talking about them, because they're just so fascinating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want to know more of their background. I feel like how did Prince Damon become Prince? Why is everyone at his feet? Why does everyone think he's the greatest thing since sliced bread? How does he have all this power? I would really like to know. And how did they all get together? Are they all siblings? Is that ever like touched upon?
The Spectre sisters very clearly say they are sisters.
They're sisters.
It's in this episode, right? Or the next episode, or Saphir and Diamond. I'm just gonna call him Diamond for right now. They're brothers. Like, they are actual brothers. And so I assume that it is more of a community.
Okay.
Like, they do have actual sibling relationships, but it's more of a community. Like, they say that they're a clan. So
I'm wondering if it's kind of how in Steven Universe there are the diamonds, and then if you're not a diamond, then you are lesser than them. So, because Saphir, Sapphire, Diamond, Ruby, like, I'm wondering if there's like a hierarchy of the gems, like in the way that there is with Steven Universe. But maybe they're all related. Yeah, I would like to know.
Yeah, that would be interesting. There just, like, aren't enough people there to get a better idea, because the Spectre sisters aren't named after gems. But obviously the others are, but there's only 4 of them, so we don't have, if we had a bigger pool, then maybe we'd be able to guesstimate. But yeah, not a lot of backstory on these characters.
But we do get also a new character, not just evil ones. So Sailor Pluto, hello.
Sailor Pluto, who's no longer a planet. So, but that's okay, because you don't have to be a planet to have a Sailor Scout attached to it. That is canonical from Takeuchi herself, because we will see later there are, like, asteroids, and major astronomers call them satellites. They're not actual machines. It's if there's a huge debris field or chunks of rock, like a comet gets stuck in rotation around a planet due to its gravity. Sometimes those are called satellites. Also, I'm kind of talking out of my butt here. I know very little about this sort of stuff. All I know for sure is that you don't have to be a planet to have a Sailor Scout attached to it. So, everyone who's saying, well, Pluto can't be a Sailor Scout anymore because Pluto's not a planet, that's not true. Pluto can have a Sailor Scout. So, anyway, sorry, that was a rant.
You heard it here, folks.
So yeah, brand new Scout. This is huge for Sailor Moon canon. And of course, Luna and Artemis don't know anything about her. She's one of the scouts that we know very little about. We do see her in a civilian form, but it's so confusing because she states, I guess we'll talk about this more when we get to that episode, but she says, I'm not allowed to leave the door of time. I can't leave it unprotected. And yet we see her in a civilian state in season 3. And we definitely see her in season 5 at some point. But I think it's one of those things that, I don't know, Takeuchi just kind of hand waves away. I wanted to introduce another Sailor Scout, and then I said she can't leave the door because I can't have her helping the Scouts because that would be too easy for them. And then I get stuck because I want to use her again, but I've said that she can't leave the door of time.
Right.
I mean, there are fan theories about the version that we see is a different... because she is the guardian of time and space, she can be multiple places at once. Or at least she can be multiple places along the time stream at once, if that makes any sense. So she could be guarding the door, but also be in her civilian guise on Earth at the same time. Because time is wibbly wobbly. So, but yeah, major Sailor canon change. And I also, like I said, had a moon moment this episode, and it was Usagi. And it was kind of the same thing from last episode, just grown up. And she doesn't... There's nowhere in the episode where she complains. She is 100% Sailor Senshi warrior. I guess that's redundant because I think Senshi means roughly warrior. It's like DC Comics, so it's a bit redundant. But the way she fights in this episode, the way she is trying her best to reach Chibiusa. And this episode has another one of those shots that kind of sticks in my mind when she's holding on to Chibiusa and Chibiusa finally trusts her and says, get rid of this guy. When she, like, that panel shot, and I'll put it in the show notes, the panel shot of her using her scepter to block what is essentially Death's scythe is awesome. I thought about this afterward. It's like she's telling Death to F off, which she has done before. So, I don't know, I just...
Yeah, no, that was a really cool scene, especially since it was one-handed. The power this girl has in her biceps. Give me your workout routine.
Usagi, like I said, Usagi was my moon moment this episode because she's just so amazing in this episode, and she's so cool, and...
yeah, I definitely see why it kind of tied in with the last episode moon moment. So I would be for making Usagi a moon moment because of these 2 episodes, instead of just these specific moments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, her just continuously getting up and fighting no matter what.
Mm-hmm. Especially since, because of the last episode, you know that she doesn't want to do it, but she knows she has to, and she wants to do it at the same time.
Yeah, and I feel like it's so hard to make Usagi a moon moment because so many of the things she does is just it sort of duty thing, but also it's such low-hanging fruit that it's like, of course she sacrificed her life to save the world, fine, give her a moon moment, you know? But I think in these episodes, it really shows her growth. I think in the very first episode of this arc, when the Scouts have been dosed by Chibiusa and Koan is trying to kidnap her, I think I gave Usagi a moon moment in that episode. I don't remember if you agreed with me, but I said just her battle tactics and the way she gets physical with Koan and is trying her best to protect Chibiusa by herself. Like, I think I gave her a moon moment because it was something of, oh my god, where has this Usagi been this entire time? And these episodes really cement that this is no longer reluctant Usagi Tsukino. This is Usagi Tsukino, protector of love and justice, now and forever. Amen. So, And I want to bring one more thing up that is a foreshadowing that I obviously never really caught before because it's only in the Japanese version. After they save Chibiusa, and she says to Pluto, "Can I go home now?" Pluto says, "It's still not possible in your current state." Now, the Deke version always had, "It's just not safe yet. You can't go." But Pluto says, "It's still not possible in your current state." And I think this is a reference to the fact that Chibiusa has the future silver crystal inside of her. Spoiler alert. And because we'll see in future episodes when she talks about what happened, she feels an incredible amount of guilt because she believes it's her fault that Crystal Tokyo is destroyed. Because as they're getting attacked, she was in the room with the silver crystal, and she says something like, "I thought if I just held it, then I would become elegant and beautiful like mommy." But she holds it and it disappears. And then they're attacked and they have no way of protecting themselves. You know, especially Usagi has no way of protecting herself. And so everything happens. I think Pluto sent her to the past for her own safety, but also sent her to the past so that the Black Moon wouldn't get their hands on the silver crystal of the future. So I think that's what she means by in your current state. Like you have the silver crystal in your body. You can't go back to the future yet because if they figure it out, then I mean I don't know if they'd rip it out of her. Like I
feel like it would be like Zoisite all over again with Molly. And you know how he kind of kidnapped her and was like, oh, maybe the crystal is inside of her. It would be that kind of thing all over again.
I could be totally wrong, but I really love this. If this is a reference to that, I love it so much because it's something that you would not pick up on. You probably don't even remember that she says this once you get to this episode. Once we got to that episode, you probably would not remember that she said that. You only will remember it because I brought it up. And that also brings into the question of why did the silver crystal disappear when Chibiusa touched it? Did it realize that Crystal Tokyo was about to be attacked, and so it's sort of hiding itself within her body as a means of protection because she's of royal moon blood? We saw the same thing with Usagi. The silver crystal, in that case, it was kind of broken up, but it required her tear helped form the silver crystal. So is this sort of a defense mechanism that the crystal has? It realizes that they're about to be attacked, and so it goes into hiding because of reasons.
That would also imply that the silver crystal is sentient and is able to think for itself. So that in itself is also very interesting too, because
I think we have had this conversation before, whether the silver crystal is sentient, and I think it's not sentient in the sense of an AI or you and me. I think it's more of instinctual, kind of stuff. Because we talked about when Usagi dies defeating Beryl, right before she dies, she just wishes that everything could go back to the way it was. And the crystal is pulling, this was my theory, the crystal's pulling power from her to defeat Beryl. And this is Usagi's wish as she is dying, and so it just incorporates that into it. So there has to be some level of sentience in it in order for it to recognize Usagi's wish or Queen Serenity's wish that everyone be reborn safely in the future. So I think there's some level of sentience there, but I don't think it's, it has a mind of its own. Like, I don't think if you gave it a mouth, it would start talking. I think it also brings up the question of, is the silver crystal inherently good? I think it's just neutral, which I think is part of why the characters are so concerned with keeping it out of the hands of the bad guys. Because the crystal is just a tool, a very powerful tool that either side could use. And with the heroes, they have to be very careful with how they use it because it takes energy, and it's very likely, depending on what you're asking for, it will kill you.
Right.
The bad guys don't care about that necessarily. They'll have, an underling use it, and like they die using it. Who cares? They're not as limited by that concern as the good guys are. So yeah, I think the silver crystal is an incredibly powerful MacGuffin that is neutral, and that's why it is so important that they keep it out of the bad guys' hands.
I think that's it for this episode, at least.
Yeah, I don't have anything else. Our next episode will cover episodes 76 through 79. Check out our social media on Twitter and Instagram at Moon Moment Pod. Don't forget to check out our website at moonmomentpodcast.com. You'll find show notes and transcripts of every episode, and I try to get those up as quick as possible. But forgive me if it doesn't go up exactly when our episode drops.
And also forgive me because I am terrible at doing transcription on time. Please forgive me, Drusilla.
Well, right now I'm a little behind in doing the transcription for our last episode, so I might be a little late for that one.
It is okay. But yeah, let us know what your moon moment musings are. We know they're taking up space in your mind, so you might as well get it out of your system.
Hey.
And you might just get a shout out. If you would like to support the podcast, please rate, review, share, and subscribe. All of that good stuff, please. It helps Moon Moments stay afloat amidst the vast ocean of podcasts. I'm Gilsey.
And I'm Drusilla.
We'll see you, Moon. Bye.
Bye.